Hello, nice to be here with you again on another edition of Unplugged. Happy International Women's Day to all of us women and to all the men who love and support all of us, your women folk. And know this, guys, we love you. We really do. You know. And throughout March on Unplugged, we will be honoring and celebrating our fellow women and amplifying their successes. We are also going to dig deep as we can, to know what we can all learn collectively from the life experiences that these women have garnered along the way. Some of these experiences are pleasant, some are not so pleasant, like what we had last week. And if you want to know more, you could also go check the replay on Facebook and also on our YouTube channel. But there's always something to learn from every experience. If you have that learning, teachable spirit, there's always something to learn. And I personally believe that I don't have to experience everything when I can learn something from others. I mean, what do you think? What do you think? Now, one thing that has really occupied my mind over time is how can one build a timeless brand? Brands that resonate and remain relevant over the ages. And those are brands like McDonald's, Burger King, Harrods, Dangote, Michael Jackson, Indomie, Fella. That's a mixture of personal and corporate brands. I mean, you know what I mean. That's the trend. And to discuss this with me today is a lady that I love and respect for many, many reasons. I call her my woman crush, and I don't crush on people readily. I also call her a comma. You can call her 1Q food platter, but I call her a comma because where we come from, we respect people who are even slightly older than us. So we call them terms of endearment, and that is my term of endearment for her. So please welcome with me today to our conversation. This is Iquo Ukoh of 1Q Food Platter. Welcome, Iquo.
Thank you, Julia. Thank you for having me. And happy International Women's Day.
Thank you. Thank you. I wish you the same. I would like to bring you on to Instagram. So
Okay.
let's do that quickly.
Yes. It's interesting that older women have the hang of this technology now.
We have young people who are helping us.
Well, that's because you want to learn, I guess there are people who have given up and don't want to bother.
Well, there are. I've sent an invitation. I hope you
Yes, I've joined. Yes. Got it. And there we go. Let's see. Yes, I think that's fine. That should work. Okay, I think we're good to go both ways.
Fantastic.
Instagram is slightly darker, but it's okay. I guess they'll hear what I'm saying.
Oh yes, they will. They will. Okay. So Mrs. Iquo Ukoh is a professional and multi-dimensional marketing advisor and expert. She's also a distinguished fellow of the Nigerian Institute of Marketing of Nigeria and a respected veteran within the West African marketing communication space. With her extensive experience in business strategy, marketing strategy, and implementation, Iquo managed many global brands for Nestle Nigeria, leveraging on her flexibility in adapting global strategies to local applications. And based on that ability, she was able to deliver accelerated market growth. Currently, she serves on the boards of several companies, and she's also the chief executive of Entodd Marketing, which is a marketing consultancy company. And she's the founder of 1Q Food Platter, which is a Nigerian food blog, which has made notable, please note the word notable impact in the African food space. And just in case you guys didn't know, She also has a podcast called Nigerian Food Culture with
Mm.
her daughter, which some of you may know as Afrolems, or whom I know as Atom. I'm an insider. You know, and it's on IG, Nigerian Food Culture. So please check that out. It's very interesting to see how she and her daughter come in from different angles. She a little bit traditional, but not very traditional, really. When you look at her photography and everything, you know she's not very traditional, you know. And her daughter comes from a totally experimental perspective, and it's the dynamic is amazing. It's amazing. So welcome to everybody who's joined. Thank you to everybody on Instagram, and thank you Afyong, Hussein, and Joan. Thank you for joining us quickly. Yes. So it's I'll tell you a little bit. I didn't plan to say this, but I tell you a little bit. That's how she became my woman crush. Iquo, you may not know this. Okay, you don't know it because I never told you.
Yeah.
It was Food Specialties Nigeria, right? FSN.
Yes.
And I was in SONU, and we came to look for business from you, from your from your company. And first of all, I was struck by this vision I saw, this lady. Because you see, when you're a woman working in a certain sector, you think, okay, you're all alone. And I was like struck, like, oh my goodness, I'm not all alone. That's good to know. Then secondly, she's from my neck of the woods. I'm like, oh my goodness, kill me now. And then thirdly, they started talking, and I'm like, I was just mesmerized. I think I was like an utter fool at that because I came with the demo, and the demo was talking, and I didn't say a word. And when we went back into the car, going back to the office, he said, what happened to you? You that you can't stop me from talking. I said, it's okay. I've met somebody I needed to listen to. So yes, that's where the woman crush thing comes from, guys. Just in case you were wondering.
Thank you, Julia.
So please, for those who haven't followed her yet, follow her. Check her out on Google and follow her on IG at 1Q Food Platter. I always want to call her IQ, but she has said it very clearly why she didn't want it to be IQ. Let me put it up here. Okay. IG. Okay. She's got amazing videos. Once you follow her there, she has a link in the bio that will take you to the videos. And then the other one is
Nigerian food culture.
Nigerian food culture.
Yeah.
And that's it's on IG too, but there's a link that will take you through to the podcast.
Absolutely.
Okay. It's how do I call it? Mesmerizing. She and her daughter don't have a dull moment. I wish this was Mother's Day. We'd have both of you on, and we talk about how mothers and daughters get on so well, and if you ever quarrel, that would be nice to know.
Yeah, we do. We have our disagreements sometimes.
So we're looking at timeless. Timeless. When I think timeless, I think of what comes to my mind is Chanel. You know, that Chanel, Coco Chanel, the classic.
Yes.
What do I call it? Suit. I don't own one, so it's a suit. You know.
Yes.
Yeah. You know, it's a suit, and it has fringes, I think, or
yes.
or something like that. That's what I think because
the tweed jacket.
The tweed one. Yes, the tweed one. You know, it's totally timeless. And Birkin bags, they're timeless. And my question is, did you intentionally set out to build a timeless brand, or was it serendipity and you keyed into it?
Look, my background is nutrition and dietetics, you know, so brand was not even something I knew even after I left the university. I started hearing brand when I started working at Nestle. Did I set out intentionally to do this? I don't think so. But maybe my dad had something to do with this, and it wasn't brand as such. It was just that this was a man that loved what he was doing. I will admire the way he dressed to work, prim and proper Van Heusen shirt, ironed on Saturday or Sunday evening. There was a way he turned out, and there was a way he took his job. And that was all I knew about, the physical bit of branding. But in terms of the relevance of the brand, not that I saw that from my dad, but I guess, getting into Nestle and seeing the way Nestle nurtured its brand, maybe this rubbed off on me naturally. Not that everybody that left Nestle, have succeeded in building a personal brand, but I guess I just slipped in somehow, nothing intentional.
Okay. So you kind of keyed into it.
Yes, I did.
You saw the value. Okay. All right. So what would you say are the elements of a timeless brand? And we're going to come to this over and over again. What would you say are just top of the mind?
For me, a timeless brand is that brand that is relevant to you, irrespective of. They are just there. They're not about trend. It's just what it is. The brand is there, is relevant to you at any point in your life. You talked about Chanel. I look at the pumps, Chanel pumps.
Yes.
I've ever grown up to know those pumps, It's not trendy. It's not old-fashioned. It is just there. It is just relevant for all time, and that's what for me a timeless brand is. And when you decided to tell me to say I am timeless, I said, okay, I need to be finding myself now. But the point for me is that one says, oh, how do you do this? I live with now. Take for instance, I don't know what this is to do with my marketing background, but the point is I hang out with young people a lot. And the reason for doing this is just so that whatever I'm bringing to them, because let's face it, they are the market today.
Yes.
And whatever I'm bringing to them, is it information? Is it what I do on social media? Whatever I'm doing, I can only be doing it for them. Of course, I'm not saying people my age will not benefit from whatever I'm doing, but they become my focus in terms of what I give off of myself.
It just reminded me of a discussion I had just this past Sunday with a friend of mine who's a stylist. And we were talking about one of these designer bags. And she said, they've started doing things for younger people. They're not staying with the old clunky styles that we used to do. I'm like, okay. I said, is it cheaper? He said, no. If we make it cheaper, and it takes the essence of the brand away.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Okay. So that ties in very, 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 very nicely. Yes. And I like what you say about watching your dad, because we learn a lot we catch more by seeing than by what people do, and also in the environment you were. So would you say that it's important that we are very intentional about the environment we find ourselves in and learn what we need to learn in building our brands?
Julia, one thing I am is that I'm a very curious person. And curiosity helps quite a bit. And also creativity. I think something else I took from my dad, He worked with the Ministry of Telecommunications, but in the philatelic section, which is where they make stamps, they design stamps. So earlier on in my life, I remember going to meetings, with my dad when he needed to meet some of the artists, people like Bruce Breakthebias and the rest of them. I started, creativity came. Yes, I did fine art in school. I loved fine art. But with my dad getting involved with stamp design and all of that, creativity then came in. So merging creativity with curiosity, it helps. Then you are open to what is going on in your environment. You look at your environment and you can see, and you can then start to ask yourself, how can I help? How can I make impact? How can I influence things around me creatively? But you need to be curious in the first place. But besides that, just on a selfish note, I think I need to continue to activate my brain. I need to keep my brain active if I want to remain young. I don't want to be senile when I'm getting old. And the more curious I am, the more I can learn, the more I can create. And therefore, I'm keeping my brain super active.
Very right. Very right. And on a very unrelated note, this morning, you know me, I'm a foodie. Anybody who knows me knows that I love food. I may not be able to cook it, but I love food. and this morning, I saw something, I'm not sure it's correct, but let me share it anyway.
Yes.
I saw something that someone said, like, it has been proven that there are certain elements in banga soup, that is abac to us.
Yes.
Banga soup that will help you prevent, what do you call it? Neurological degeneration and stuff like that, and things like strokes and stuff like that. I thought, okay, I'm going to cook a pack very soon.
But yes, you have to balance up, helping your brain and controlling the fat. Abac you can't eat abac every day. I mean, I love abac, I love banga, but we manage it and we balance it. Balance it with some afang as well. Mm-hmm.
Afang is almost my everyday. So we're looking at live in the now, remain relevant at every point in your life, merge creativity with curiosity, ask yourself, how can I influence things around me positively? And also for your own good, keep your brain working. So, what would help brands stay on course over the long haul? Because there are many brands that have started and then they gave up somewhere along the line.
Yeah.
What's in your experience as a marketing person? What would help brands? And you've nurtured timeless brands, some of which I have in my house right now. But since they will not pay us to advertise, we shall not advertise them.
No, we wouldn't. We wouldn't encourage that here.
But what helps brands stay on course over the long haul?
Okay, let me start from
both personal
and
corporate.
Exactly.
Brands.
Let me start from myself, then I'll go on to I think first is this thing about differentiation. I know starting out in my career, I didn't have mentors, by the way. I think I just came in to work with some native intelligence. That's all I can say. And so I got into Nestle at a point where, as a medical rep, and at that point, the company had recruited quite a lot of nurses, as their medical rep. And here was I'm with a degree in nutrition and dietetics. So you can imagine already my problem in that terrain. And so I said, out of 30-something ladies and some guys that were there, how can I differentiate myself? The first thing I identified was, okay, I have a degree in nutrition and dietetics. I looked at what was available in the company. There was a newsletter, internal company magazine. And I said, this is an opportunity to project myself. And so I met with the editor and I said, look, I'd like to contribute to some columns, a column, in the magazine. And that was how I started. So already I have created awareness for myself, good visibility. And again, every month, so I was there practically every time the magazine was published. And so even for people in the factory, in the warehouse who were not in Lagos, people in the regions all over, because these magazines were circulated, of course, they got to know that there's one Iquo Ukoh somewhere, a medical delegate. Now, fast forward to when I then took over managing brands, for the company. It was a time where I utilized the media to full benefit. I mean, those were times where you did not have to pay much for the front cover of Punch or Guardian. And so what did I do? Yes, of course, I'll have the brand elements on me, the cap of a brand or the T-shirt of a brand, but I was on the front cover of the newspaper. Now, let me get out of work because there were so many things that one did there to build one's brand. But now, out of, this, institution that seemed to have provided me that platform, of course, I had known enough about marketing now, so I needed to do it on my own. I started the food blog even before I left the company. That was strategic for me because I had told myself when I leave this company, I was not going to come with a proposal and sit at the reception of any company. It is the last thing you want to do in your 60s. You know how it is. The brand manager inside will say, that woman has come again. Oh, please tell her I'm at a meeting. So I did not want that at all. So I wanted to build something that I will sit in my house and somebody will say, yes, I like that. I like what she's doing and I'm going to buy into it. That's what influencing, marketing influencing is all about. So I started building my blog, my following on Facebook, and a little bit on Instagram, a little bit on Twitter. By the time I was out on my own, I already had good enough, substantial following on Facebook. And so I then continued on Instagram. Yes, on Instagram, I have now over 100,000 following on Instagram. I then looked at my LinkedIn. I said, professionally, the marketing side, I'll still need people, So I made sure my profile on LinkedIn was there. And I was writing articles on LinkedIn. I was posting on LinkedIn. Let me fast forward to COVID. COVID came. A lot of webinars. We were all overwhelmed with webinars. I made sure I joined every single one that was relevant, particularly in the marketing area. Sometimes it was about leadership. Sometimes it was about finance. Of course, these were free anyway. So, I joined. And it's not just joining and listening, but I made sure I made contributions on those platforms. So guess what? I have continued to remain top of mind in my own marketing communication space. And indeed, outside of that, because besides just joining and listening, I'm also contributing. And the same thing applies to any corporate brand, any product you have out there. Is about nourishing this brand. As I've told my story, I have been nourishing my personal brand somehow. Besides all of this, I also, when it's possible, I attend physical events to network, to meet with people. And again, some of those networks are not necessarily networks about people my age. I love to be invited to events that you have younger people. When I tell people network up, network across, but more importantly, network down. Because when you get to a certain age, when you have left as the CEO and whatever, or when you have retired at the statutory age, assuming you do not declare age, you will need people. you will need people at the base. You will need people that are younger than you, because they are the one then, sitting at the top, at the executive level, and the rest of them, I mean, assuming what you retired to was something that will require their help. So nourishing the brand along the line is the brand visible. Renovating and innovating. I remember when I started my food blog, particularly on Instagram, I told myself, oh my goodness, Iquo, are you not going to make a fool of yourself here? First of all, my daughter was there, so that was already a problem for me. I said, this girl is going to kill me. But I came with my marketing cap on. Of course, I know the consumers. Is the thing I have been doing for almost 30 decades. I knew the consumers, I knew what they wanted. And I knew that to be in that space, I needed to differentiate. Guess what? I use my photography and I use my videos to differentiate. And who taught me all of that? My son. So, it's this thing about reinvent, renovate, and create, but understand who you're creating for, and therefore you are creating appropriately. And that's basically what helps brands to remain, relevant. I mean, we know what happened to certain brands, the Nokias of the Kodak and the rest of them.
Yeah.
I mean, when they didn't know that they could not see phones coming, even today, some companies are still burying their heads in the sand. Technology has come. It will not go away. And so you might as well flow with the tide.
Very correct. Thank you. I've taken so many notes, but I'd like to share what I've said. But then we have a few comments here,
Okay.
and I think you have your greatest fan club member here. Networking downwards has been very beneficial. Absolutely.
Yes.
We have Faye Kemi. Faye Kemi, thank you. So I remember the time you approved items sponsorship of food or food competition in my university.
Oh,
I never
wow.
met you, but I know your name. I will never forget. A guy won the competition then. It's a pleasure meeting you here, man. Thank you, boss, for being this amazing woman. Thank you for being an amazing woman.
Thank you, Faye Kemi. Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Thank you for loving my woman crush. And we have another comment here. Take care to nourish your personal brand.
Yes.
That is very, very important.
I mean, if I can just touch on that, Julia, if I can touch on that a bit, about your personal brand, and it's the world of social media. I think we have to be very deliberate about what we project.
Yes.
How do you want to be seen? How do you want to be remembered? Every picture, every comment adds up. And it's the same thing, for products, brands or corporate brands. Everything counts, every slip, every comment. And if for people who are still looking for jobs, trust me, the HR person, when they have shortlisted you, they then go to your social media to check you out to know what kind of person are you. So in building your personal brand, be mindful of what you put out there. If that is what you want people to, if that's the perception you want, no problem. But understand that social media is quite unforgiving.
Very unforgiving. And you can't scrub it. It's there.
No,
it's there for life. Yeah. You can try, and it will say this content has been taken down. And then there are curious people like me who will now ask, why was it taken down? We want to know. We want to see more, So Iquo has talked about many things. just talked about the importance of creating awareness into, well, native intelligence, and I call that also emotional intelligence, something that
Yes.
you're born with. Yes. Then differentiation. It's very important to differentiate yourself and where you can volunteer, because
Yes.
through the things we volunteer for, we create awareness for ourselves, greater visibility, be consistent with what you do, be intentional, contribute, and maintain a top of mind awareness for people, and most importantly, network. And when you're
Yes.
in those spaces that you're networking, please do not be obnoxious. Observe those spaces very carefully.
Mm-hmm.
There's a
Mm-hmm.
protocol in every space that you find
Absolutely.
yourself in. So do not
Absolutely.
go to maybe a gathering of young people and try to wear torn jeans like them. You know, they're just going to look at you and like, okay, I'm just going to leave this one there. You know, we have to be appropriate. We really have to be
Yes.
appropriate. You know, same way you won't go to a gathering of maybe CEOs, whatever their age,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
you start telling them that your favorite song is, which is my own, really, this Amenor remix, you know, but that's not the place to go and just like that. I can show you guys some moves. No, you sit down there and you compose yourself. When you get home,
Yeah.
you can dance it as much as you want.
True.
Okay,
True.
that's very thank you for joining. Let me share your takeaway, which is to reinvent, innovate, create to remain relevant. Thank you, man. Been following on Instagram for more than 3 years. Learn how to make a prawn sauce there. Yes. Thank you, Vera.
Yes.
Thank you for joining.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much for joining. And we are going to go. We're about halfway through, and I want to dig into some other things that I believe the Paul can give us some wisdom about.
I actually saw somebody say here saying that actually they thought I was a young person. I've seen that on Instagram until I saw your daughter.
I
Yes,
tell you,
you see, it's because I understand the consumer. I speak their language, but does not, it's not about me. It's about the brand One Q Food Platter. Yes, sometimes I cannot totally separate the brand, my personal brand Iquo Ukoh from One Q Food Platter. But One Q Food Platter is what is serving them. And therefore, One Q Food Platter should speak the language of the people following One Q Food Platter. I'm not doing, One Q Food Platter for my age, but anybody that doesn't know how to cook at 60 plus, I don't know. I mean, then buy your food, don't wink at me, Julia. But I mean, yes, not to say that people my age are not learning new things, absolutely. But I'm saying when I look at my audience profile, what Instagram tells me is between 25 and 34, the bulk of the
yes,
people. And therefore, whatever I do in the main does not mean I'm not addressing the other, people in the audience mix. But my focus is on people, and therefore I have to talk to them. And that's what, a brand does for its captive audience.
absolutely, absolutely. Well, guys, I'm an African man. I can cook. I just prefer not to.
I know
I
you
am
can.
not
I know you.
definitely nowhere near her
I know
level.
you can. I know you can.
Nowhere near her level. But
Mhm.
I want to go to some isms. I call them isms that I'd like
Yes.
you to speak to. And guys, listen, please just know this: we work hard for our money. We didn't get all those years of experience to come and give you market food tips here. When you want food tips, consult her as one
No,
Q food
not to
directly.
worry. We'll provide some food tips, but the main thing today is marketing and
Today's
branding.
marketing. Today's marketing. That one would be a different show. But this one
Yeah.
is we're looking at the biases as well of
Yes.
that face different women, even women who have been successful in building strong and timeless brands there are biases that they all face, and that's what I
Yes.
want to dig into at this point. So the first one, I'll just put them to you. The first one is womanism. Did your gender inhibit or enhance your choices? Now, let me background this. Last week we had a very young guest.
Mm-hmm.
She's about
Yeah.
30, right? Okay, yeah, 30, 31. And she was in an environment where her parents felt why her parents, well, the people who were in charge of her life at that time, overseeing her, felt that why are we going to spend money on a girl child? She and her sister. So those were
Mm-hmm.
issues where
Mm-hmm.
gender came in, and that is somebody who'd fall into your audience demographic right now,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
did you experience any of those kind of inhibitions as you were growing up as a young lady or up till now?
Um, Not really. I think for my dad, it was about everybody had to be given equal opportunity as far as being educated was concerned. There was nothing about priority for the boys to be educated versus the girls. By the way, we're two girls and four boys, and everybody had equal opportunity. Um, but yes, of course, roles like who was more in the kitchen, it had to be the girls. You know, that was where I saw that. And did I find anything wrong with it? I didn't per se, because I didn't know anything else. It was that the girls would be help mom in the kitchen, the boys would help dad wash car, and I did not question any of that. And I must say that in my working life, in my career, I have been fortunate, in the sense that I've worked in a multinational. I worked, sorry, in a multinational all my life. And this did not happen, certainly not overtly. But I must say that if I look at even Nestle that I worked, for over 30 something years, I was the first woman to sit on the board of Nestle Nigeria after they had been in the country for over 40 years. Um, did I question things before then? Not necessarily. But I guess by the time the whole gender equity conversation started, one then started to be more aware, and therefore there was a lot more confidence to ask for things. Let me give you an example. When I was a group brand manager then, and the next level was going to be a marketing manager or a commercial manager. And I had a boss, a South African. He was a commercial manager of the company at that time. And I sit across him at an appraisal. And he says, Iquo, so what's the next step? By this time, I had been on the role of a group brand manager for about 4 years, I think. And I told him, I said, look, Richard, I want to sit where you're seated. I mean, even for a white South African, he almost fell off his chair. He said, sit. I said, yes, I'm going to sit where you're seated. And he said, but I'm here. I said, yes, but you'll leave someday. And when you leave, I want to sit on that seat. It was a shock to him. So he said, okay, if that doesn't happen, I said, yeah, I mean, look, it's been good while it lasted. I've enjoyed my career so far. And yeah, I'll look for challenges elsewhere outside of this organization. I was as blunt as that. Where did this confidence come from? I don't know. It might just be that because the whole conversation about gender equity had started. And therefore, for me, it was, why not? I mean, who says it has to be a man there all the time? So, yes, like I said, it wasn't there overtly, but you knew that you were not really the first choice. And therefore, you had to speak up for yourself.
Okay, so ladies, speak up for yourself. Speak up for yourself, but have something that you're speaking up for, not just because
Absolutely.
you're a woman. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Because also, just to to add to that, when I had gone through all the levels of marketing, the next point was the board. Absolutely. It was either I became the country manager of Nestle Nigeria or I was on the board. And country manager of Nestle Nigeria was something, it's a conversation for another day. I didn't want to because it was some family consideration. I needed to have started the journey earlier, which I didn't start. So the board opportunity was the next for me. And I sit at an appraisal again, a conversation with my, boss then. And he says, so what's the next move? I said, I want to sit on the board of the company. And he looks and he smiles and he says, why? I said, because I know I'm going to bring a lot of value to that board. I said, most of the products we're making are for women. I said, yes, at the marketing level, I'm doing that, but I need the board to understand when we're making some of those decisions, I would put my voice there as a woman for whom the products of this company are intended for.
Absolutely.
Trust me, 3 months later, I was seated on that board. But I know what the chairman then told me, Chief Olusegun Osunke. He told me, he said, Iquo, you know what? We are, welcoming you to the board, not because you're a woman, but because of the value you are going to bring to this board. We know the value you're bringing. So it's not just about us. It's not about tokenism. We don't want that. We want value. Are you bringing value to the board? But are you preparing yourself as well to bring that value? I know many women have what it takes. Sometimes it's just the opportunity for them, like they say, they're prepared. It's about preparation, meeting with opportunity, and then they'll become successful.
So what I get from that is prepare yourself, package yourself,
Yeah.
present yourself
Yes.
every time you have the opportunity. And it doesn't matter if people say that you're uppity or you're speaking out of turn. It's never out of turn. Once you have
No.
substance behind what you're asking for, it's just a matter of time. You're going to get it.
And the only thing that can be said is a no. Ask for it anyway. It's either a yes or a no. I mean, yeah.
And if it's no today, it could be yes tomorrow. So let's just
And it
keep
might
asking.
be, yes, it might also be no in that organization. Does not mean that it will be a no in the next place. So there, it does not have to be a permanent no, but preparation is absolutely important.
So the other ism is ethnicism. I experienced this myself. I know. We all say we didn't come to Lagos to look at bridges. Just as I didn't move to Port Harcourt to look at bridges, we have lovely flyovers now. I didn't come here to look at flyovers. There's a purpose for every place you're in.
Yes.
So I know that you weren't born in Lagos. You're from
No.
Akwa Ibom State.
Yes.
But I know you also moved to Lagos quite early in your life.
Mm-hmm.
So you yourself may not have an ethnic bias, but were you aware of any micro or macro aggressions or inhibitions that sometimes come with the terrain in our environment? And did this affect you? If they happen, did they affect you in any way?
It, to some extent, it did. I mean, let's face it. Whoever the HR person was at that time, there was a bias then. And that was when, for some organization, things were not quite transparent. I mean, for instance, the process of promotion, if it was not transparent, if there were some gaps there, somebody's about to, utilize that gap to advantage. And I saw that play out quite a bit, it was there. It was there, absolutely. But, we, for those of us from the minority states, when the war then starts with the major tribes, you then raise your hand and say, thank God I'm non-aligned. And you found out that when the war is on, you, the minority, then becomes the person they come to. to help, iron things out. So some advantages, being minority, but also there were other situations where I saw, like they call it in Lagos, parapo, man no man, and in Igbo, you say Imam Madu, I speak a bit of all of those languages, yes. So it was there, but it did not affect my career that much. And again, I go back to the fact that, look, I was fortunate to work for a multinational. In multinationals, this problem is not as ingrained as you have in, maybe Nigerian-owned companies, or even in government. So I think in that respect, I just was fortunate.
Okay. But what I'm taking from that is it also helps a lot when what you're bringing to the table has value.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
It now becomes a conversation about why are we not using this person in the particular point, and then people start looking a little bit sheepish when they keep ignoring you for a while, and that's when you hear, oh, it's long overdue, well done, long overdue, yeah. We're gonna take it. We'll take it anyway. It's long overdue, but we'll take it. We'll take it.
No, like I said, for multinationals, you also have a lot of expatriates. That was also the help there, because for the expatriate doesn't know Yoruba, Hausa, Igbo, Efik, so that helped, but where you don't have that factor in there, you have to work extra hard. I mean, it has to be you have to bring such value that it's difficult to ignore you. But trust me, sometimes even with your value, you could be ignored. It's there.
Absolutely.
It's there.
I know we're not going to talk about all of it, but we're just going to touch on these things on a high level. And then the other one is ageism. Now, to my shock and horror, I found out that people have to stop working in the civil service, Nigerian civil service,
yes.
at 60 years, or is it if you
60?
60 or 30?
Yeah. Yes. Yes, 35 or 60, something like that. Yes.
So I did the math yesterday, and I looked. I said, if somebody got into the Nigerian civil service at 22, straight out of school, and at 35 years, you are 57.
Yes. So,
what do you do?
Oh, yeah, and then you move on to.
But at the other end of the spectrum, you also have judges who do not have to resign. I think at the High Court, 70 years and 65. And I think
even lecturers, if you're in the academia as well, I think is maybe 70. I don't know. Yeah,
70. Once you're tenured, yes, and then 70. Now they're trying to push it to 75, and the other one to 60 for High Court to 70. Yeah, and then I know in America where you're in the is it Supreme Court? That's it for life. You stay there. You might be not functioning optimally, but you're there for life. So this is my I'm pondering. I'd like to ponder with you.
Yes.
At the time those decisions were made, life was not the same. People who were retiring probably had packed a lot of age, reduced their ages a lot. So at 60, they were probably at 70s and just ready to resign and die. Because really, many of them started school in their mid-teens or late teens. So they had to make a lot of adjustments. Now, I'm not asking you to you're not going to start reduce the age thing here, but I find that ageism has become institutionalized, especially for women, and you get to a point where they say, I find that thing of you calling me mommy when I'm not your mom. It actually does irritate me because what you're doing is that you're already minimizing me to a certain role, and I cannot be relevant in another role. I may be reading it right or wrong, but guys, you tell me. You know, I accompanied my husband to hospital one of I think that was in January, and I, to my mind, I know I don't really do makeup and stuff like that, but one of the young ladies said, "Mommy, you're looking so fine. Have you retired? Are you still working?" I looked at her. I couldn't. I was really baffled. Then I looked at her. I didn't answer. I just paid because she was the cashier. I paid, and I went home and looked at myself. Took a really good look at myself. I'm like, oh.
Oh my
Do
goodness.
I really look like I retired 10 years ago? And I need to do
Well,
something about this thing. But that mommy thing does irk me. And I see
yeah.
that, I think I see it as a microaggression. It's a way of boxing me that I do not want to be boxed with. Have you experienced it?
Um,
So you don't call
when
me mommy.
let me let me tell you a story. And that was, when, if I mean, Julia, I know you lived in Lagos at some point. I went to Tejo Market. The previous Tejo Market was still there, and it had the aisles and all of that. When you go to the market, particularly where they sell children's wares, and they'll say, mommy, auntie, buy baby's things. That was where you needed to test how you looked. And it's a funny it's a funny thing. But I'll go with friends to Tejo Market, and we're walking along those aisles. Then they'll call me auntie, baby's things. Then they'll call my friend mommy, baby's things. I say, see yourself. So, Julia, you see, I mean, I see some whitish thing on your, I mean, whether your
It's
skin
there.
or
I can't
not,
help it. I'm
okay, it's there.
afraid.
Okay.
Yes.
So look, the way we look, it is what it is. I mean, you can reposition yourself, you can do what you do. Age is age. Let's, enjoy the process of aging. But the point also is that in the Nigerian culture and context, sometimes is respect. When they want to call you mommy, is respect. I'm coming out of, for me, coming out of a multinational setting, it's always on these first name terms. And I know that, I mean, the expatriates will call me first name, but no Nigerian dared call me Iquo. And that's because it was going to be challenging for them. If you called me Iquo within the four walls of the organization, if we met at a social gathering, you cannot call me that same name. So to be safe, some of them will say mommy, ma'am, some people say ma'am now, just to be modern. But the point is, age is age. There's nothing you can do about that. And, let's enjoy the aging process. And if you can touch up a bit, some makeup, some trendy glasses, somebody will know you're old, you're an older lady. But the point is, so what? At the end of the day, what does this older lady bring to the table? What is she offering me? What impact is she making? It's not just to call me mommy, but is mommy bringing something to the table for the younger lady? Honestly, for me, there's nothing wrong with the aging. Else, I wouldn't even be on social media, if you ask me. But the point is, I still believe that there's something I'm bringing. I'm still doing my videos. I'm still on my YouTube channel. The kind of information I bring, maybe the younger person is not bringing that, but is my target audience between 24 to 30 something benefiting from that? Yes, they are. And that's what matters. So embrace your age, embrace your feminism, embrace your womanhood, and that's it. And for the men, the trick about the men, I think, Julia, this is where we have problems. For women, it's either wig or something. For the men, you know what they did earlier on, which we did not realize? Every man was wearing skin cut. So they didn't have to be dyeing hair. They decided to wear skin. Do you see any man with bushy hair? It's because the gray hair will be showing there. That's the trick. We should have learned earlier.
We
But
should have learned earlier.
thanks to wigs, we can cover up.
But unfortunately, I can't wear wigs because the heat.
Don't worry. Don't worry.
Yeah, so I think people have gotten used, but the whole hair has gone gray.
Enjoy it. Enjoy
I am
it.
enjoying it.
Not that you have it. Not that you have a choice, by the way.
No, this is me. This is what I have. This is what I have. So I'd like to say a little bit on the for women who are 60 and above, and you've already told us that before you left Nestle, you had started your blog, so you had already put your toe in the water.
Mm-hmm.
But for women who probably abruptly, or perhaps it came to pass that they left their work at 50, at 60, or after 35 years of service, and all of a sudden they don't know what to do. They're frozen.
Mm-hmm.
I have met and I have spoken with a lot of women who are frozen, and over here in Port Harcourt, I call it, you get into the double wrapper state of mind. You feel that either the boo-boo state of mind or the double wrapper state of mind, where you have resigned yourself to, okay, all I have to do is to do a mogo. That's what I have to do, and perhaps just wait for death to catch your illness, whichever one comes first. But what do you do? But people are actually they're actually frozen. Some are frozen.
Yeah.
How can people, in very practical terms, unfreeze? How do they take that step? And those who didn't prepare for retirement, because it does come as a shock sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Those who didn't prepare for retirement, or even ill health. It mightn't even be your own ill health. It might be ill health of a family member, a loved one. How do you deal with those abrupt terminations of a trajectory you were on, and then start again?
Yeah. Julia, it's even for people that know that ultimately they'll have to retire, whether at 60 or 59 or 57. I find out that we start out life and our career without thinking about this end. Most people don't. I mean, not that I did at some point, but trust me, 5 years to my retiring, I started being serious about, that point. And that was, or even earlier. I mean, things like investment, what do I put my money on? Can I, not buy this designer bag and invest money just so that later on in life I have something to draw on? Yes, I'm going to earn some pension, but trust me, with devaluation and all of that, you have to permanently be hedging against that devaluation, of your funds. But more importantly, I find out that sometimes it's not about money. People, they have what they're going to eat, and for some, they're fortunate their husbands, have a roof over their heads and all of that. But just waking up in the morning and having something to do is a challenge. But it takes talking to fellow women, chatting. So what do you think I can do? What do you think I can do? And I tell people, social media is your friend. I sit inside my house these days. And I mean, since I left work, and I'm taking on some jobs, and I'm not leaving the comfort of my home. And I'm doing things, sometimes it's in dollars, sometimes it's in multiples of 6 digits, naira, and I'm not leaving the house. But you have to hone your skills. Take on something. What's the passion? What do you like doing? I said my background is nutrition and dietetics, yes. But more importantly for me, I like to create. And I suddenly saw that, okay, I can create around food. Yes, I started that. I mean, if I look at the first picture I took, I'll ask myself, what were people liking in this picture? But that was a starting point for me. And I continue to create. I continue to innovate. On my pictures, I improved. On the type of recipes I brought, I improved. On my videos, I improved. But what does it do for me? I remain so alert. I remain, excited, intelligent when I'm meeting with women, my fellow women, or even men in the workforce. I am talking intelligently. When I'm sitting on the board of organizations, for goodness sake, I have to be on my top of my game to be able to contribute at those board meetings. Somebody might say, oh, I'm not on the board. Yes, you're not on the board. But guess what? You can impact younger people around you, younger women around you. But it's about think first. What can I do? What passion do I have? How can I take it? But don't put money in mind, first of all. Put the passion first, improve it, and then we then can start talking about money later.
I think one other thing is to have the humility to drop our pride. Because for some of us, asking someone, telling someone I don't know, I mean, it's something as simple as putting on our generator. It's not that one that I mean, it's the one you press the button. But I asked my case man the other day, I said, just tell me, because you're not here all the time. What is the first
Yes.
step? Yeah, I wrote it down. What's the second step? I wrote it down. The third step, I said, okay, and the reverse. And I told him, sit, okay, just watch me do it several times. And when I finished, I wrote it down on this piece of paper like this. So anytime he's not around or somebody else is not around, I pick it up and I go and look at it. I say, okay, do this, do this, do this. And
Juliet, so talking about that, again, back to who are you networking with? Who is around you? For me, the young people, if you're on social media, you don't have a choice. A lot of the things I've done, I told you photography, I learned from my son. Video, I have video guys, they're young people that I work with. Even the whole social media, putting together the whole thing, I had to depend on younger people. So if you are afraid to ask for help, then yeah, you might not get far with that.
so fear and shame, we need to put them aside. And
Yes.
before we have actually gotten to the end, oh my goodness.
I know. I know.
So I'd like to ask you 4 tips you give to build a personal brand, a timeless brand.
Timeless brand.
4 of your big. I
Yes.
have Instagram. I have to cut off now. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Instagram. Thank you. Thank you for joining.
Yes. Okay. So just
4 tips.
Yes.
Yeah, 4 tips. First of all, for a personal brand, the question is, why do I want to build this brand? What's the purpose? Why do I have to sustain my visibility out there and all of that? 2, just like any other brand, what do I stand for? When people think about me, what do I stand for? So it goes about what I say, my outlook, how I dress, how I interact with people. That is one. Number 3, I have to create awareness about this brand. People have to know me. Does not mean that I have to throw myself all over the place. This that we're doing, just this 1 hour we spent here, is part of the brand building. Julia Okujax is building her brand. Iquo Ukoh is building her brand. Guess what? Because some people have followed us, they've seen us, they'll continue to follow our journey. And number 4, innovate and renovate. Innovate and renovate and remain relevant. For the time, for that target, for the people you continually want to speak to, you have to remain relevant. And so that means upskilling yourself, read, learn, read, listen to the younger ones, understand what is going on in your environment.
Well, thank you. I wish we had another hour. I really wish we had another hour. We probably wouldn't end. this conversation. But
I do.
I'm also asking you in advance, in front of all these good people, when we do have our master classes, I would like to call you back. Not on this
Yes,
topic, definitely on the nutrition and all those
no
things.
problem.
Yes,
No problem.
yes.
It will be my
Thank
pleasure. Just
Thank you
send
so
send
much.
me a ticket. We can do it live in Port Harcourt.
You can, indeed, you can. You have so many fans here, truly.
We can
Yes,
do
and
it
I will
live in
do that.
Port Harcourt.
Yes,
Thank you so much, Julia, for having me.
thank you. Thank you for coming. And thank you, everybody, for coming. Thank you, Instagram people. And thank you, everybody who joined us on Facebook, especially the men here, Tony and Essien. Thank you very much. Yes, Kemi, I'll bring her again. I'll bring her again. But you have to go to Port Harcourt as well. Thank you, Foma. Thank you.
Thank you. God
Thank you.
bless.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.